Hello there and welcome to tonight's edition of Primetime News here on TV1. You're joining me, Debbie Paldano. Now, before we head into your stories in more detail, let's first take a look at your headlines this evening.
Chinese research ship Yuan Wang 5 docks at Sri Lanka's Hambantota port. Sri Lanka asked China to delay Yuan Wang 5 until it addressed India's concerns, says the cabinet spokesperson. Fishermen take to the street demanding to solve the fuel crisis. Allow Gotabaya to come back to his motherland, a request by SLPP MPs. Government announces paddy prices for the yellow season. Farmers not happy with new paddy prices. Activists involved with the Aragalaya demand the government to establish a People's Council.
Of course, now taking a look at some of the local stories. Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe believes that the emergency imposed in the middle of last month will not be extended when it lapses this week. President Ranil Wickremesinghe had noted that the government is planning to set up a diaspora office in Colombo to secure assistance from the Sri Lankan diaspora overseas. Speaking at an event in Colombo, the president said the government is taking measures to uplift the country and the support of all factions is necessary.
I remember going home that day
and to the nation.
Thank you all. And have a pleasant
Annual conference and the third national apex. Ladies, gentlemen, and friends.
And now one of your headline-making stories. The Chinese tracking vessel Yuan Wang 5 docked at the Chinese-built Hambantota port in Sri Lanka's deep south. The vessel will remain in Hambantota for a period of 7 days for replenishment purposes.
The Yuan Wang 5 entered the Hambantota deep sea port at around 8:30 a.m. today. Yuan Wang 5 is a third-generation tracking ship of the Yuan Wang series. It has top-of-the-line antennas and electronic equipment to track ballistic missiles and satellite.
The arrival of this ship to Sri Lanka created tension rather in the region, with India saying that the arrival of this ship to the region is concerning, that they have raised concerns over the arrival of this ship in terms of security and their economic interests. However, China has responded to that claim, saying that the claims that India has made is senseless. However, the crew and this ship were welcomed by Sri Lankan officials earlier today when it arrived here.
A special welcome ceremony was organized at the Hambantota port today morning under the auspices of the Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka. Former Sri Lankan ministers Sarath Weerasekara, Vimal Weerawansa and Vasudevan Anayakkara, as well as Venerable Athuraliya Rathanathera, were among those who were present for the event.
汉曼托塔港是中斯共建“一带一路”的重点合作项目，也是两国友谊的象征，也已成为助力斯里兰卡经济复苏、增强自主能力的重要引擎。你们的到访，为庆祝中斯建交65周年和米交协定签署70周年，留下了浓墨重彩的一笔。虽然你们经历的印度洋风浪较以往有所不同，但最终踏平坎坷成大道，彰显了你们的勇气、坚韧和无往不胜，彰显了传统中斯友好 根深蒂固，历久弥坚。
Although
the land is Sri Lanka, it is the sky and the ocean that links us to the world. This is an area of ocean and the skies that belong to us. We as a state bear responsibility for that area. The Indian Ocean region must remain as a region of peace. There can be no conflict. It cannot be home to enemy camps. Even if we are strong or weak economically, we need to maintain the stance. Some call this vessel a spy ship. We call it a communication vessel. As the vessel was granted approval, it must be allowed to enter Sri Lanka. That was the position of our political party leaders. China has never told us how our government structure should be. China has never established NGOs in Sri Lanka and funded them to destabilize the government. Therefore, China is one of the few countries that extend assistance to Sri Lanka during these tough times. We hope China would help us more with investments than loans.
Presence of Yuan Wang 5 is a symbol of the independence and sovereign power of Sri Lanka. A controversy was unnecessarily raised about the arrival of Yuan Wang 5. And it was also a machination of the Western powers headed by US. We hope this friendship, the long-lasting friendship, cannot be torpedoed by any kind of machinations of imperialism.
There was an issue and the government solved it, allowing the vessel to dock in the port. This further strengthens the relations between China and Sri Lanka, and these visits also strengthen the friendship between the two countries. I am here representing the President and I wish them with a small speech.
Diplomatic clearance for the Chinese vessel to make a port call at the Hambantota port from 11th to the 17th of August 2022 for replenishment purposes was granted by the Sri Lankan Ministry of Foreign Affairs. However, due to concerns raised by various factions, the ministry requested China to defer the visit of the said vessel to the Hambantota port. However, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs did not provide any reason for the request. When the request to defer the visit of the vessel was made, the Yuan Wang 5 had already set sail to Sri Lanka, leaving its port of origin on the 14th of July, and it was already in the Indian Ocean.
One question?
Yeah.
The ship was delayed due to several reasons. What do you think about that?
Everybody knows. I don't need to explain.
India has expressed concerns over the arrival of this ship. They're saying in terms of their security and economic interests.
I think you can ask this question to the India friends.
Has the government made any requests from China in terms of debt restructuring? Have you responded to the government?
But you see, all the vessels, the scientific research vessels, successfully and smoothly the port dock the Hambantota port. Yeah. So I think it's a very normal exchanges between our two countries because China and Sri Lanka enjoy long-standing friendship. Yeah. So the scientific research vessels with the Hambantota is very natural, it's very normal. There is nothing special. Yeah, everybody knows this. This kind of the vessels visit Sri Lanka is not the first time. In 2014, the China also, this type of the vessel visited the Colombo. Yeah, so it's very natural. Visit very natural. Yeah. So I hope our media friends to how to tell the Sri Lanka people, tell the whole world the objective of the issues. Yeah.
So why do you think there was such a big diplomatic such a tussle in the last few days about this coming? It was delayed entry. Why?
I don't know. Maybe this is life. It's natural. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sri Lanka's cabinet spokesperson Bandula Gunawardena said the country requested to defer the arrival of the Yuan Wang 5 in order to clear out the concerns raised by India.
The Indian රජය විසින් ශ්‍රී ලංකා රජයට
ගුවන් යානයක් පිරිනැමුවා. කිසිදු රජයක් මේ සඳහා කිසිදු රටක් මේට විරුද්ධත්වය පෑවේ නැහැ. නමුත් අද දිනේදී චීන නෞකාවක් හම්බන්තොට වරායට සේන්දු වුණා. මේ නෞකාව සේන්දු වීමත් සමගම ඉන්දියන් රජය විරෝධතාවයක් දක්වනවා. ලංකාවට මෙම නැව පැමිණීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් මේක අපේ ස්වාධීනත්වයට සහ ඒකීයභාවයට බලපෑමක් නේද එමතු.
චීන නෞකාවට පැමිණෙන්න අවසරය ලබා දීලා තිබුණා.
We allowed the Chinese ship to dock here. India had a few concerns regarding the matter. We requested the Chinese ship to delay its course till we sorted out those matters. In this matter between China and India, we have allowed the Chinese government to enjoy the same facilities we provide everyone else. Sri Lanka is following a neutral path where we treat everyone equally regardless of what it is. It's the same for India, Pakistan or even America. Each country is equally important to us. They have helped us in the past. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and his ministry have taken careful steps to maintain friendly relations with all nations that support us.
විදේශ කටයුතු අමාත්‍යාංශය හා අමාත්‍යතුමා වගකීමකින් ක්‍රියා කරලා තියෙනවා.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that the country is at the nitty-gritty with respect to the IMF staff level agreement.
Well, we are now discussing with the IMF to finalize a staff level agreement. And we are at the nitty-gritty. Now, when you set the criteria and targets, you know, 0.25% can make a difference between prosperity and disaster. When that is over, the staff level agreement will come in, and that will give us confidence. Money will come in from some of the donors, from some other multilateral organizations, some investors would mind taking the risk. But we still have then, Lazards are preparing our debt sustainability plan. We've got to discuss firstly with our official creditors. Now there are two groups. The West which thinks our haircut, and the Chinese would like to give additional loans to pay off these loans. So there has to be one approach. And we are talking with Japan how this could be achieved. And we'll talk with China, or start the talks with India. Others will follow. And the more difficult issue of how do you deal with the private creditors. The monies that are invested there are not all by multi-billionaires, remember. A lot of the money are from pension funds, from other earnings, from banks. And a haircut means those pensioners have to take a lot. We know the situation where we are in, where the EPF is today worth half it was 3 years ago.
W.D. Veerasinghe is a parliamentarian representing the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, and he requests that Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the ex-president of Sri Lanka, be allowed to return to the island.
The leader who cut down on staff and vehicles and tried to build this country has no country to live in. We as Sri Lankans need to be ashamed that a leader of our country is being forced to live overseas while making requests to stay there. I request the President, Prime Minister and the government to allow the President who bowed down to the request of the youth to step down to be allowed to return to the country.
Sri Lanka's opposition leader Sajith Premadasa made a startling revelation today.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, speaking at the Women's Forum of the National People's Council, made a revelation about a cabinet paper.
අපිට අහන්නට ලැබෙනවා වර්තමාන අග්‍රාමාත්‍යවරයා මේ තරම්
While the country is in chaos, the Prime Minister of the country has tabled a cabinet paper which is quite shocking. This cabinet paper states that they provided MPs with facilities during the selection of the succeeding president in order for these parliamentarians to participate in that process without any hindrance. The cabinet paper further requested permission to allow the Prime Minister's office to continue these facilities. It means that the process of selecting a succeeding president was marred with malpractices, and the Prime Minister wants to continue with it as well. This is relating to 5 MPs, and they want to provide them with fuel and transport. Rather than providing the necessary nutrition to uplift the lives of children and the mothers, they slash it. And the Prime Minister proposes to continue with providing fuel and transport for the MPs from that selection process. In the midst of all of this, they are urging us to join their all-party government.
එන්න වර්තමාන අගමැතිවරයා යෝජනා කරා. ඒ අතරතුර අපිට කියනවා සර්වපාක්ෂික ආණ්ඩුවකට මැති ඇමති තනතුරු ගන්න.
Sri Lankan fishermen across several areas protested today, demanding fuel in order to engage in fishing. Fishermen continue to protest into the night in Chilau.
Fishermen from several villages including Chilau, Ambakadavila, Madavatta and Karukapane gathered in the Chilau city today to protest against the Minister of Fisheries Douglas Devananda's promise to solve the fuel problem immediately not being fulfilled. The minister in charge of the subject had earlier promised that the fuel needs of Chilau fishermen would be met within a week. These fishermen pointed out that they had not received sufficient stocks of fuel in about 3 months. Due to the protest, the vehicular movement around Chilau city was disrupted at several locations.
The fisher folk have taken to the streets today because even though we have been holding discussions with the fisheries minister, we have not received any answer yet. If we don't get an answer to this kerosene issue, we will starve to death right here on the road. We will not leave from today.
Fishermen of Chilau commenced a continuous protest by blocking the road opposite the municipal council until a permanent solution to the problem was found. Meanwhile, several fishermen's associations from Negombo held demonstrations at the Negombo-Thelvatta junction this afternoon demanding kerosene.
All the fishermen have no food and only around 1% went fishing. The government does not have any plan at the moment as to when will oil be given to the fishermen and what is the price of oil. How are we to eat until then? We have taken to the streets at this time because we don't have fuel to do our jobs. Give us fuel.
The people who came to the Negombo Municipal Council premises commenced a continuous protest demanding a solution to their problems. These were protests that were held at several locations including Dehiwala, Mount Lavinia, Ratmalana and Angulana. The fishermen who came from Dehiwala town on foot protested in the Mount Lavinia town and marched to the Ratmalana Divisional Secretariat.
අපි කියොත් අපේ දරුවන්ගේ බඩකට පුරෙන්නේ සෙට් එකේ මැනේජර් ගණන් ගන්නෙත් නැහැ මේ ඩග්ලස් දේවානන්ද කියන ඇමතුමා මොකෝ ලං සිපෙට්කෝ එකේ ලියුමක් ගෙන්නේ මැනේජර් ඊට වැඩි ලොක්ෙක් නේ මේ ඩග්ලස් දේවානන්දට වැඩි දීවර ඇමතිට කියන්නේ මැනේජර් පුටුව ගන්න මැනේජර්ට කියන්නේ දීවර ඇමති පුටුව ගන්න කියලා.
Few protesters had the opportunity to have a discussion with the Ratmalana Divisional Secretary and the group dispersed with the promise that the problem would be solved soon. A protest was also staged today in the Mullathib town by fishermen demanding solutions for the problems of the fishermen, including the fuel issue. Fishermen who came from the Mullathib town marched to the district secretariat and handed over a memorandum. Fishermen from the south also held a protest today in the Mathura city demanding sufficient fuel for fishing activity.
Health staff across multiple hospitals protested today, citing a number of issues.
The Sri Lankan health sector has started to protest against the government, citing multiple issues. The Health Services Trade Union Collective staged protests opposite hospitals demanding the government that has no solutions to the health sector woes step down. The protest also cited the shortage of medicines and medical equipment, suppression and the slashing of benefits due to the health sector. The main protest took place opposite the Colombo National Hospital. A majority of the health sector cannot afford the transportation cost. The last salary increment took place in 2019. We have not received any salary hike or benefits since then. The cost of living has increased by threefold. In the midst of all this, equipment necessary for surgeries and medicines are in short supply. The Ranil Rajapaksa government must step down if they cannot solve these issues. The situation is so depressing that the National Hospital of Sri Lanka, which is the main hospital in the country, is facing a serious medicine shortage. On Monday night, the ICU was not able to carry out operations. As of today, we do not have the required cotton wool to put plaster on patients. The hospital has fallen to such a state that we cannot even test for glucose or sugar levels. We will continue to voice our concerns until this government leaves. The Health Services Trade Union Collective protested opposite the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital during the lunch hour. The staff is finding it difficult to report to work. The salary is not enough for the bus fares. We demand that the allowances and the benefits due to the health staff be awarded. If not, we will stand firm to launch a continuous protest. While the health trade unions engaged in these protests, patients who had arrived at hospitals to obtain medication and treatment were left helpless. There are acute medicine shortages at several hospitals island-wide, including the Colombo National Hospital, Kandy National Hospital and the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital. Many patients who arrived at the Kandy National Hospital had to opt to private pharmacies to obtain medicine.
There is a shortage of some drugs. Our medical staff suggests substitutes for them. Also, we had to impose certain limits in planned surgeries. But in many cases it is managed, and we provide services by managing the amount of medicine available according to each occasion.
A shortage of medicine is reported from the Polonnaruwa General Hospital as well. Due to the shortage of medicines, the patients who come to the Badulla Provincial General Hospital for treatment also faced severe difficulties. This was the answer given when a question was raised whether there is a shortage of medicine at a cabinet media briefing today. The health minister did not give any explanation about the medicine shortage. As far as I know, there is no shortage of medicine. If you have a problem, inform the health minister.
News First with the people.
The Sri Lankan government plans to start purchasing paddy from local farmers from Wednesday. That's tomorrow.
Sri Lanka's Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amravira announced that a kilogram of Nadu paddy will be purchased for 120 rupees. In addition, Samba paddy will be purchased for 125 rupees per kilogram, while Kiri Samba will be purchased by the state for 130 rupees per kilogram.
Mill owners in the country are trying to purchase paddy for a very low price. In order to topple this mafia, as the Paddy Marketing Board, we decided to intervene. Therefore, we urge the farming community of the country to sell your harvest to the Paddy Marketing Board without just selling it for a cheaper price. You are free to sell it for a higher price than this, but don't sell it below this price.
Sri Lankan farmers claim that the government stipulated price for paddy is not sufficient.
The Anuradhapura District Joint Agrarian Association announced that the paddy purchase price will not be sufficient to cover their expenses.
We cannot reap a successful harvest during this paddy season. We cannot even secure 100 bushels per acre. Paddy prices were dropped to 120 rupees from 150 rupees, citing a controlled price. Private traders are purchasing paddy at 80 rupees per kilogram. The Paddy Marketing Board has not even thought about purchasing paddy. We cannot even cover our expenses under the present situation.
The Farmers Collective of Dehi Attakandiya also echoed the same concerns.
This is the harvest. This is what happens in the absence of agrochemicals. The government now wants to import rice so that their associates can make more money via commissions. We need at least 150 rupees per kilogram of paddy from the government. Many farmers are to reap their harvest by the 20th of August. However, they have no fuel for the machinery. A program needs to be implemented soon to address the issue. If not, the farmers will be left in dire straits.
Sri Lankan farmers have been battered by the severe economic crisis and massive shortage of fertilizer. However, the farmers are continuing with the cultivations despite the hardships in a bid to cover their costs.
Lankan farmers are seeking a reasonable price for the Yala season paddy harvest so that they can cover their costs. Although the ban on fertilizer and agrochemicals was lifted, farmers were compelled to spend 50,000 rupees per sack of urea to add to their paddy fields. With the economic crisis still looming, these farmers now face a new issue in reaping their harvest. Around 100 acres of paddy land in Lower Mattala in Hambantota are at risk of being destroyed due to the shortage of water. Approximately 67 agrarian agrarian families have been rendered helpless as a result of this situation. These farmers who cultivated their fields with the water from the Galave Vaver and Mahalud Gamara Vaver now find it difficult to source water for their fields.
දොර අරලානේ මේ අක්‍රසියට වතුර වදින්න එපා. ඒකනේ වතුර එන්නේ එක පොඩක්වත් වතුර එන්නේ නැහනේ. මේ ආරේ වතුර නැති වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
These farmers are unable to even pump water to their paddy lands due to the shortage of fuel to power up their motors.
ධනස්කන්ධයක් වතුර පාර සම්පූර්ණ බැහැලා යන්නේ මුහුදට. අපිට මේකෙන් වතුර ගහලා හරි අපි කුඹුරු කරා. අපිට දැන් වතුර ගහන්න විදියක් නැහැ ඩීසල් නැහැ. කෝටි ගණන් මිලියන ගණන් වෙන් කරලා ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් හදලා ව්‍යාපෘති හදලා අපිට වතුර දෙන දෙයක් නැහැ. නීති අනුකූල කරලා එතනින් වතුර ටික අලුත්ගම් ආරෙන් වතුර ටික දුන්නා නම් අපිට කුඹුරු අක්‍ර 100ක් 200ක් හොඳට අස්වද්ද ගන්නවා. හොඳට කන්න රටට හාල් ටික හදා ගන්න පුළුවන්.
අර ඔබනාට හරව දුන්නම් මේ ගොයන් ටික පැහැෙනවා. රටේ හාල් නැතේ ඉන්දියාවෙන් ගේනවයි ජපානෙන් ගේනවයි කිය උඩ පයින්නෝ මේවට පහසුකමක් නැහැ කිසිම. ලංකාවේ තියෙන ගොයියා වලේ වැටෙද්දී චීනෙනුයි හරෙන් මෙහෙන් ගෙන්නිල්ල තමයි තියෙන්නේ.
These issues won't take months or years to solve. While Sri Lanka's paddy lands are gradually drying up or being destroyed, the United Nations warned that 28% of Sri Lankan households are food insecure. Shouldn't attention be directed to issues like this to prevent a bigger crisis before it happens?
Located in the Sabaragamuwa province, Sri Lanka, Balangoda is home to an impressive selection of attractions and experiences, making it well worth a visit. However, some villages in the area are facing series of issues, and the people living in line houses in Thondamanpura are the worst affected. The main reason for this is that the bridge that links them to the main road over the Vevaldola was washed away by flash floods recently. The villagers took up the task to build a temporary bridge over the waterway, but its safety is not guaranteed. When it rains, the temporary bridge poses a dangerous situation.
We're going in for a short commercial break. Stay tuned for more of the very latest.
මොකද මහත්තයා මේ?
නෑ මේ ගෙදර සිංක් එකේ
අයි මහත්තයා ස්ලෝන් නෙවෙයිද දැම්මේ?
හදිස්සියට බාලා පයිප් එකක් දැම්මේ. නැද්ද මුදලාලි ඊයේ පෙරේදා කඩේ රිපෙයාර් කරන්න ගෙනාපු ගම් චුට්ටක්.
මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට හොඳම විසඳුම ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටක්. හැබැයි ඉක්මනින් දාගන්න ස්ලෝන් පයිප් එකක්.
එස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටා හැම ගෙදරකම සිටිය යුතු ජලනල කාර්මිකයා දැන් රඟම ග්‍රොසරියෙන් මිලදී ගන්න.
Earn a highest interest rate of 23% for 8 months fixed deposits. LP Yasaisuru.
Welcome back to the news. Activists from the Aragale People's Protest and Collective of Civil Organizations convened a joint media briefing in Colombo.
Activists from the Aragale People's Protest and Collective of Civil Organizations stressed that a People's Council should be established soon.
We understand that the aspirations from the Aragale were somewhat tamed within the political culture. There was suppression. That is what symbolizes the Ranil Rajapaksa government. The mandate is with the people. The people in unison accepted the Aragale People's Protest. That is why we are calling for the establishment of a People's Council.
There has never been a place for the people who have been discriminated against or the people who have been oppressed by various issues to express their opinions for a long time in this country. I think this is the best opportunity for us to talk about the idea of the People's Council in Sri Lanka.
අපි කතා කරන්න සහ ඒ ගැන එය ගොඩනගන්න හොඳම අවස්ථාවක් තමයි මේ එළඹිලා තියෙන්නේ.
ආණ්ඩුවලට පිටට තට්ටු කරලා
There's a requirement to make the government aware of the issues the people are facing and to inform what needs to be done next through broad discussions. For the first time in history, people have brought the government to its knees. This power needs to be taken forward and should be exercised.
තවදුරටත් අභ්‍යාස කරමින් ඉස්සරහට අරන් යන්න ඕන. අපේ රටේ ජනතාව
The people of our country, professionals and various groups of people currently have trust in a People's Council that is being built under a political system to bring justice beyond the deceptive process of giving our power to someone else.
මහජන දේශපාලන ධාරාවක් යටතේ ගොඩනැගෙන මහජන කවුන්සිල් එකකට
රාජ්‍ය ත්‍රස්තවාදය මේ වෙනකොට State terrorism is currently oppressing these peaceful protesters. The new phase of the struggle is the people's protest. We should get together for this. So the struggle continues, and the struggle means a system change. Let's all come together for it.
මහ ජනතාවෙනි අරගලය අකණ්ඩව පවතිනවා අරගලය කියන්නේ ක්‍රම වෙනසක් ඒ උදෙසා සියලු දෙනාම පෙළ ගැහෙමු.
Meanwhile, activist Shehan Malaka was summoned to the Criminal Investigations Department today.
Social activist Shehan Malaka was summoned to the Criminal Investigations Department today to record a statement with regard to entering temple trees on the 13th of July and causing property damage. Detectives recorded a statement for around 3 hours. Irrespective of who becomes the president, we need a political culture that will allow everyone to live freely. We will continue with the Aragalaya until we reach that point. We cannot be intimidated and we cannot be stopped. Swimming champion Julian Bowling and businessman Jonathan Martinstein have been summoned to the CID tomorrow over the 9th of July protests. The Criminal Investigations Department said that they are being summoned to record statements for the future investigations on the incident where President Ranil Wickremesinghe's house was torched on the 9th of July.
Today, the Court of Appeal rejected an application made by Scottish tourist Kaylee Fraser, who was seeking to terminate the decision taken by the Immigration and Emigration Department to deport her from Sri Lanka.
The application was taken up in the presence of Justice Sobhita Rajakaruna and was dismissed on the grounds that the petitioner had failed to produce sufficient facts for the application to be taken up for examination. The request to issue notice on the respondents was also turned down by the Court of Appeal. The Justice and the Court of Appeal noted that the Controller General of Immigration and Immigration has the right to terminate or cancel the visa without giving a reason, and it has been confirmed by the rulings delivered by the Supreme Court as well.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has withdrawn the mandatory requirement to convert service export receipts and proceeds by the 12th of August 2022.
The CBSL stated that the decision, which was previously taken with the view of encouraging service exporters to repatriate their export proceedings into the country, can now be used by service exporters for the permitted purposes. However, the mandatory requirement to receive proceeds of the service exports to the country within 180 days from the date of provision of services remains unchanged. According to the information reported by banks, during the first 6 months of the year 2022, a total of $1,533 million has been received as service exports receipts, of which $406 million has been converted to Sri Lankan rupees. The highest monthly service export proceeds of $324 million were received in March 2022. The CBSL stated that during discussions with representatives of service exporters, they have highlighted the potential to further enhance export receipts. All exporters have been encouraged to bring in all export proceeds to the country at this time of need, while taking note of the mandatory requirement to receive such proceeds within 180 days. The central bank has intensified its monitoring on compliance with the relevant requirements with respect to exporters and authorized dealers.
The OIC of the Kaduwala police has been hailed as a hero after he managed to arrest 3 suspects who attempted to escape in an SUV. The action of this OIC is a prime example of how some police officers risk their lives to maintain law and order.
The OIC for Kaduwala was returning to his police station at around 11 p.m. yesterday after attending the Perahera of the Kaduwala Run Kadu Devalaya. At that moment, the OIC had come across a group armed with swords and machetes at the Kaduwala town centre. The police spokesperson said that when the OIC was stopping his cruiser at the location, the suspects attempted to flee by getting into an SUV. The OIC had taken out his pistol and opened fire at the SUV. The suspects had driven ahead and then dumped the SUV in a bid to escape by foot, and during the getaway, the OIC managed to arrest 3 of them while 1 suspect got away. Investigations revealed that the suspects had arrived to carry out an attack on a drug peddler identified as Roshan, living down School Lane in Kothalavala.
The third phase of the Divisavya program, supported by LOLC Holdings, continues in a bid to help the worst affected by the economic crisis in Sri Lanka.
The program commenced from Matara Valleypitiya this morning. On the 11th day of the third phase, essential food packs were distributed to the poverty-stricken families in the Mathura district at 5 identified Grama Niladhari divisions. The Divisavya program identifies families that are facing serious issues economically and provides them with much-needed relief packages.
And with that, we wrap up Primetime News here on TV1. For more news, log on to our award website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst team, I'm David Paldan. Take care.